On the Radio Wammo Breakfast. Time now is 9:36.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The Geek Show.
Joining us from the Geek Show today, it is Calvin, live from the Mohawk Studios in Wellington City. G'day, Calvin.
Oh, g'day, Wammo.
G'day, and today we're talking about real stuff that exists in the world, but looks like it should probably come from science fiction.
Yeah, well, I've been feeling like this for about the past year. Pretty much every day I read some sort of headline and think, my God, I grew up thinking that was sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, every day we're using smartphones that make the communicators in Star Trek look positively Stone Age.
Yeah. How often do we actually go, we're living in the future. It's the future right now.
I know. We totally take this for granted. And just, I was looking for some material for this week's show, and I was looking over some of the things that I'd sort of passed over recently that didn't seem to have much meat on them as single stories. And then I thought, this is the future happening right now, and it's not even exciting enough to be a story at times.
So instead, rather than just the one story, we do have a collection of stuff today.
A big collection of things, and the thing that they've got in common really is that just when I read them, I just think, ha ha ha, you know, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I'll bring to your attention here today is you can actually just go out and buy for about $170 now from thinkgeek.com a little cube that sits next to your iPod or iPhone and projects a laser keyboard in front of your iPhone that you can do, that you can just type on.
Holy heck! Okay.
You know, it connects via Bluetooth. It'll work for about 150 minutes.
Yeah.
The keyboard comes out at about 20 centimeters in size, QWERTY layout.
Yeah.
And its detection rate is about 400 characters per minute.
So the keyboard is
faster than I can type.
Well, exactly. So the keyboard is a projection, and somehow the device detects where your fingers are on the desk in front of you, and it works like a normal keyboard. That's amazing,
isn't it? I mean, I hadn't even seen that really in science fiction. It just came out in the real world.
Can you imagine that? Someone says, I've got my iPad here, but sorry, no, I don't have a keyboard, so this might take a little while. You go, hang on, no, I've got this little box here. We'll just project the keyboard here, and away you go. It's amazing.
Isn't it fantastic? So, I mean, where that's going to go in the future as well is anybody's guess, because that's not just going to be projecting a QWERTY keyboard. That can project any interface that's right for what you're doing.
Very cool. All right, what's next?
Next, well, these things have been around for a little while. I mean, 10 years ago they didn't exist, but, 4 years ago they just started to get good. And now Google's driverless cars are legal in Nevada.
Huh. Yeah, now, as you say, we have heard about this for a wee while. What do they actually do? How do they work?
Well, they have a lot of sensors around. They talk to Google Maps, and they drive themselves. And the good thing about them is they don't have accidents. Hopefully yet. But the reason I bring this up is I always thought that driverless cars would be one of the things that took a really long time to come in.
Yeah.
Because as soon as there's one accident, there's going to be a reaction from people who just are generally being Luddite about the thing. But the thing is, humans are terrible at driving. Really, we like to think we're quite good, but the amount of us that die every year, I think that kind of shows that we're really quite bad at it.
Well, most of us like to do everything else but drive. We like to fiddle with the stereo, we like to have a cigarette, we like to talk on the phone, we like to deal with the kids in the back. We want to do everything but drive.
Dinner, everything but drive, and while I think if we just said, right, you have to have driverless cars now, there would be a huge backlash against it. I don't think that's how it's going to happen at all. I think what's going to happen is cars will come out. I mean, they're already talking about only allowing cars in New Zealand if they're rated 5 on the crash test thing.
Right.
I think in a couple of years it'll be a case of no new, maybe 2 to 3 years, and we'll have legislation that says no new cars are to be sold without LiDAR detectors and automatic systems for braking if it detects that you're definitely going to hit something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Or that automatically slows you down if it detects you're going to run into the back of another car.
But
that...
Is this tech still too expensive for the average person?
Well, let's put it this way. Well, I'm not expecting the average person to go and buy this tech and put it on their car. When you look at what this tech costs to add to a car, it's trivially inexpensive already compared with the actual cost of a car to add the basic sensors.
Okay.
Look how cheap a Kinect camera is.
Yeah, that's true.
Right now, that $220, $230 piece of kit can effectively replace the expensive LiDAR detectors required to make the Google cars work.
Yeah.
It's a camera with 3D detection in. The issues regarding machine vision that kept these things expensive, they're plummeting. The prices are cascading downwards, and the ability is cascading upwards at an equally stratospheric rate. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to get these automatic assists that make cars safer and safer, to the point where in 5 years' time, most of these cars, 90% of the time, you're just going to be able to take your hands off the wheel and let the car do the job.
Yeah, very cool. All right, moving on. What's next?
Well, it's almost another Kinect-related thing. I've been playing with Miku Miku Dance on the Kinect, which lets you pilot a virtual Japanese pop star with your own body, Hatsune Miku. And, I mean, she's already got a following that, would make Britney Spears take notice.
Yeah.
Well, recently, there's a Japanese idol group called AKB48. Well, they announced a new member, Amy Iguchi. Only the new member was completely computer-generated.
Huh, wow.
And it took a little while for people to catch on.
Yeah.
If you look very carefully, you can see the joins and things like that. But it is so close now. This year, possibly next at the very latest, there's going to be a pop star out there that doesn't exist in the real world, and no one is going to guess until the makers come out and say, "No, I'm sorry, this girl ain't real."
Quite a bit different. It takes lip syncing one step further.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least they won't get burnt out if you tour them.
Yeah, and they
constantly.
They probably won't take drugs and fall over.
No, I'm fairly sure they won't take drugs.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, that's very cool. What else?
Well, I don't want to go into too much detail. I almost just want to read the headline and leave my jaw on the floor and gape at you for a bit. But researchers at Caltech have just created the first artificial neural network out of DNA. So they're using fragments of DNA whose interactions simulate the behavior of simple mathematical models. So they're making neural network computers out of actual DNA.
Oh, okay. So this is in the biotech sphere, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we could go into... I could spend half an hour going into some detail on this. There's a great article on physorg.com. But it was just to finish off the show and just sort of say, that's the sort of thing I was reading as far out biotech in books 10 to 15 years ago. And I was thinking that technology is maybe 30 years away then.
Yeah.
And here we are 10, 15 years later. With it just, it's a headline on physorg.com.
Yeah. Oh, it just happened.
It's phenomenal.
It just happened the other day. It's funny how we do get used to things, eh? Suddenly they happen and we go and we accept that now as part of our world and part of where we live, and we go, okay, what's next?
Yeah, I know. We're getting used to this incredible rate of change.
Yeah.
I've just watched a video of an MIT professor called Hugh Hare at TEDMed this year. He's had his legs were amputated just below the knee in a climbing accident when he was a D student, and then post-leg, he became an MIT professor. And he's got 2 artificial legs at the bottom, and he can change his height by changing his legs. He can put on legs that make him a better climber than he ever was when he had real legs.
Yeah.
Because they can grip on tiny little, they can grip on edges the width of a coin, and they're incredibly light. So his point of view is that while he probably wouldn't have chosen to remove his legs, the legs he's now got are superior to the legs he had in many ways.
Yeah.
This is, and the best thing about them is they're upgradable. The current legs he's got, he can upgrade the software on them and make them.
It's so cool. Next stop, the Terminator, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, the $6 million man was absolute science fiction when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling this guy's legs probably didn't cost quite as much as $6 million.
No.
He's an MIT professor. I don't think they earn that much.
Indeed. Well, that's very, very cool. You can see this interview once more as a video up at thegeekshow.com, 2 3s rather than 2 E's. And you can have a conversation with Calvin over on Twitter as well, twitter.com/CHELFYN. Calvin, we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.
Okay, cheers.